Welcome back to another episode of the Prospects Live Dynasty Show. I'm your host, Eddy Almaguer. I'm joined by Ralph Lifshitz and Matt Thompson. As always, boys, thanks for being here with me on this beautiful Sunday night. I should feel like I should caution the listeners as to when they are listening to this podcast because this news is moving so fast, injuries are happening so quickly that maybe everything we say in this podcast is outdated. But let's hope not. Boys, I got a quick question for you. Are any of you going to get hurt and be out for the season at any point during this podcast, Ralph?
100%, man. I'm probably going to get dehydrated because I'm going to run out of water, and then my voice is going to shrivel up like SpongeBob when he's taken out of the ocean.
No free ads, but I'm hydrated.
Yeah. All right. Damn, I feel like I need like a
what plants crave, man.
Yep, there it is. Hydrate, replenish, refuel.
Prospects Live, sponsored by Gatorade. New ad deal, guys. We're rolling in money now. Don't you worry about it. All right. So listen, this is the first podcast, guys, since the season started that we have actual baseball to react to overreact to, maybe even. So we'll start off. This is, again, a Dynasty podcast. Let's start off with some of the young guns, the Dynasty names that we expected to be up here, that we didn't expect to be up here. And one name we did not expect to be up here was someone that when I was in the middle of a redraft, news broke that Brady Singer was going to debut with the Royals and start the second game of the season against the Indians. I immediately drafted him. I forgot what round it was, late, of course. And his debut was pretty solid. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. There's some excitement. His pitch is moving enough that the GIFs are fun to look at and maybe hype him up even more than perhaps Ralph likes, according to his Twitter recently. But I like Brady. I saw him actually when I first broke into sports, working in a control room. He was at Florida. I was in Gainesville, of course. I did my degree in Florida, and I was like, man, this guy's like fastball, like moves quite a bit. It has movement. Of course, back then I wasn't really like into the prospect world. I just figured, man, this thing moves fast. This a lot of movement here. And lo and behold, he still has it. Of course, that's why he's in the majors. And Ralph, I'll kick it off with you, man. I know you had some thoughts on Twitter about Brady Singer. I think the three of us here are on the same page as to what he ultimately is, and just break it down for the fans and what to make of the start, how excited they should get, and what to expect down the road.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in like a deeper league, if you're in 16 teams plus, especially in this shortened season where we're going to be chasing totals, and I feel like the starting pitching isn't as deep as it typically is. People aren't holding bench spots for hitters or prospects. There's a lot more certainty around maybe some of these mid-tier prospects guys may try to stash. So there's a lot of starting pitchers owned. So I feel like, a guy like this comes up, he's probably available in, TGFBI certainly, but formats like that where you go on a weekly basis, the news broke midweek and, it was between FAAB periods. I think he's absolutely worth, maybe throwing like, I don't know, 10% of your FAAB or something, not even that much, probably, I'd say
5 to 7%.
7 to 9% is probably pretty comfortable. I can see going that far if you really need starting pitching. Otherwise, just throw a couple bucks on it and just see if you can get a waiver wire flyer there. But yeah, I mean, going back and looking at the start, watching it, he definitely got some swinging strikes. A lot of it was on that tight slider that he has, 84 to 86. It was a good pitch. Tends to work in the outside part of the plate, the glove side, away from right-handed pitchers. That gets a little troublesome with left-handers, I think, because you're going to have to work inside. He's much more fastball dominant, at least from what I saw, even rewatching it a second time and the first time through the order. Really fastball dominant against lefties. I think he's going to get hit. He's a guy that, does have some giddy up on the fastball. As you said, there is absolutely movement. I wonder if there's a 2-seam variation because at times he would work sort of arm side and get some decent arm side run on that. But he was primarily trying to work up in the zone, which is, obviously become what the new normal is in terms of attack plan, here in professional baseball now. And it made sense. I mean, he worked high. He was able to get low, with that tight slider, work at the bottom of the zone. He got swinging strikes. But there were times that fastball, because it's not, and I'm going to have to go back and actually look at the StatCast numbers on it, but it's not, like a 2,500 plus like killer backspin, true spin sort of fastball, like a Justin Verlander or somebody along those lines.
Not something you can blow by someone, essentially.
Yeah,
backspin gives a rise, gives a strikeout ability.
But I also think what it means is it's not going to run as much. It's not going to rise as much. You're not going to get that sort of movement where it misses the top of the zone and you get some swings sort of underneath it. At times it was bleeding into the heart of the plate. Guys were taking it. I saw, as I mentioned to you early on, Francisco Lindor made really good contact with the middle fastball, but just missed it. Drove it, deep into center field. There was another one that he left high and on the outside to Carlos Santana. That Santana absolutely clubbed the opposite field. And then, Roberto Perez didn't swing in a middle fastball and then flailed on two really bad pitches, or not bad pitches, but two really hard to hit pitches buried in the dirt with, a slider really low on the outside. And then, guys like Brady Singer were in the lineup. Daniel Johnson's major league debut was yesterday as well against them. It wasn't totally their A lineup. Cesar Hernandez hit him pretty well. I think he's going to struggle against lefties. I think he's going to dominate most of the right matchups that he's in because of his ability to locate the fastball high and sort of work away with that breaking ball, that tight slider down. So, there's a lot to like here, but he doesn't have a true third pitch. And it's not like he has a killer fastball. He has a nice fastball. It's 96 miles per hour. There's some characteristics to it at times that are really nice. He's control over command, definitely with that pitch. He worked around the zone, and he was able to work around the black. He got a lot of looking strikes. I think he maybe got 17 looking strikes and 14 swinging strikes. So the performance in terms of the outcomes were really good, and he was fooling Indians hitters. But I think, when there's a book on him, second, third, fourth start, we may see, some of the shine come off a little bit. But
I think he's
a number 3 ceiling, probably like a 4 or a 5 now. And on your fantasy team, it's a deeper league, and he's a depth asset. In my opinion.
Well, one of the things that I maybe want to call to the attention of the listeners, I do like Brady Singer. Matt, you were kind of joking offline before we jumped on that Mike Matheny, he might let some of these guys run for the old school wins category, which does make some sense. The Royals don't really have a lot of depth in the bullpen. They really could let Singer run. He's proven to be durable in the minors. However, if you're looking down the road here at the schedule, now he has a very juicy matchup. I think it's at Detroit next, which certainly you start him at Detroit, but then you go potentially at Cubs, home versus Twins, on the road again versus Twins, then Reds, Cardinals, and you don't really face a slow team. I guess I don't know how you consider the White Sox now until the end of August. This is a really, really tough schedule for the Royals coming up in August, and you just got to be careful how much you're committing in FAAB to Brady Singer. I think he will cost more than 5-7%. Of course, by the time this airs, FAAB will have run. We'll be proven right or wrong. I think maybe closer to 10%.
You shouldn't. If you're expecting,
I got him for $9 out of 1,000 in tout, for what it's worth.
Okay, wow, that's actually legit surprising. That's pretty cheap.
But I mean, I think he's the type of guy we're going to see. He's going to run into trouble. It's obvious to say that, being young arm. He's not one of those ones, where he's going to run in. He's going to hit speed bumps, as Ralph detailed very nicely. He's going to have a tough time against lefties. Teams are going to stack, especially with these expanded rosters. Teams are going to stack lefties against him in the batting order because he has no true out pitch. Especially against lefties. It's fastball slider, and when I say fastball slider, I think that's 95% of what he threw. And he doesn't really have it. I think he threw one changeup.
97% of his pitches were fastball slider.
So there you go. And I think he threw. We Jason Panini, for our former founder of the site, saw him way back at Instructs at Royals camp. We have notes on our site from him, and those are even hold true today. College starter, he's pretty polished. No real pitch against lefties, and I keep saying that, but that's going to be important. And he's the type of guy you wish you could develop a cutter. I'm sure he's been worked with a million times. Maybe a cutter's the answer. Maybe the Royals do figure something out with him as far as that. But a lot of these Royals guys, I mean, they're college arms that are advanced. There's not exactly as much tinkering as they've done with other arms, and they drafted him because he's close to finished product and he fits their competitive window of what they hope to be in 2021 and 22 and beyond. And it's a good year to let him run and for lack of a better word, let him get beat up a little bit, because he's going to be a mainstay in that rotation for next year. And next year I'll revisit his price. Maybe you'd be interested in buying him a little bit low after he struggles a little bit. But right now I'm going to leave him on the waiver wire. I don't really see Eddy touch on the schedule. I didn't even look at the schedule. It's easy to see him struggling and pointing all. If he has success, great. I hope he does well, but there's too many things here, too many warning signs for me to invest heavily.
One last one on Brady Singer. Looking at his minor league numbers, really only has 1 year of minor league season. And remember, he was drafted in 2018.
20 starts in the minors, maybe, if that.
High A last year versus lefties in high A. He had a 307 average in 24 innings. It improved a little bit in Double A, where he had a 260 average, but still 235 versus righties in Double A. So the split differential is there, something to watch. So good call out. Careful how much you bid on. Well, sorry if you bid on him too much by the time you listen to this.
Sorry.
A good Detroit start, but just a rough August schedule. Keep that in mind for all Royals pitchers. Okay, moving on, guys. Let's pick it up a little bit here. Kyle Lewis kind of taking the world by storm a little bit here. We saw it in summer camp. He was making a lot of noise in summer camp, getting full-on pitches, but still, strong wrist, strong arms out to right field. And come the season, he has 2 home runs, does have 6 strikeouts in 13 plate appearances, but took I think it was Verlander. He took him deep on a rocket. I think it was 108, 110 miles per hour. Like beautiful swing. The Crawford boxes made it look even further than it was. I love Kyle Lewis. I kind of stumbled upon a few shares this year, and I'm shook luck a little bit. Tell me about your thoughts, Matt. I'll start with you, Kyle Lewis. What are you expecting kind of the rest of the season? He's certainly earned himself plenty of playing time in the middle of that Seattle lineup. It's not a formidable lineup quite yet, but hey, it's playing time and chance at runs, RBIs. Kyle Lewis, how are you feeling on him?
Is Kyle Lewis back? I think he is, man. Myself included in this, I know there's several other people. He was a top, certainly a top 5 first-year player in his draft coming out, and he was a top 25, 40, 50 prospect, no doubt, in fantasy when he came out of the draft. And then the knee injuries hit. Here's a crazy comparison for you, and I'm not saying he's going to put up similar stat lines to this guy, but when I watch him swing the bat, do you see a lot of Alfonso Soriano there?
Yeah.
Just with the long limbs and the explosiveness at contact. That you didn't see that a year and a half ago, right? After the injuries, he didn't have all this burst that he has, but now he looks confident. He looks healthy. And I really hope he can hit. It's a bad team, so hopefully he can play and lock down a corner outfield spot or even center field until Kalenic comes. And I would be investing pretty heavily in Kyle Lewis if for some reason he was available in the league. I know, he's going to be exciting, and I hope he can run a little bit. But even if he doesn't, he's going to hit in the middle of the order. Evan White's going to hit around him. Shed Long is getting on base. It's a decent order at the top. So hopefully he can make some noise in Seattle. And I'm excited for Kyle Lewis.
Yeah, he crushes fastball, and then in the next at bat after that home run,
he makes adjustments in game.
But Verlander straight up just threw him a bunch of sliders and he whiffed on them. So it was, it's a matter of how can he adjust, because that was the problem even last year when he came up and tore through. Last year he had like 8 home runs and 6 home runs in 18 games. But again, he struck out a ton. So we might be heading to a similar path. Ralph, you and I waxed poetic about Kyle Lewis when we were thinking about some rookie of the years in the last episode. Quick thoughts on Kyle Lewis. I mean, he's kind of doing what we maybe expect him to. He might be a rookie of the year candidate down the road. What you got on him?
Yeah, and I like the fact that Kyle Lewis today, again went out and actually had a couple of hits that weren't homers, went 2 for 4 with a run score, a couple of RBIs.
Went the other way, too.
Well, and 2 more strikeouts. So, yeah, the strikeouts are concerning. Take a look at, the contact rate. I'll have an article coming out, or might already be out when this posts on Monday. Little cold water on some of the prospects, Singer and Lewis and some of these other guys. I love Lewis, long time, obsession, so to speak, with Kyle Lewis. I've always had him too high on list, and now it's just fine a little bit. Now I wonder if I'm too low, because I feel I'm ahead of him. One point I want to make before we move along. I think he's a good study in 2 things. Number one, and I said this to Joe the other night in the opening of the draft show. Stick with these high pedigree guys, especially when they have some unfortunate stuff, especially with injuries. It takes a while for guys to get back. We like to think that it's miracle science nowadays, and that modern medicine has improved so much, and it has. But it's still not like throwing a couple new tires in your car. It doesn't work that way. Guys got to work their way back, get confident, get comfortable, all that sort of stuff. And the second point I want to make is I also think that his home park really skewed his numbers. I know we've talked about this before, but I was digging into minor league park effects for 2019 again today, utilize them a little bit for my article. And Dickey Stevens Park in Arkansas, where the Naturals play their games, which is the AA affiliate of the Seattle Mariners. It's also where Kyle Lewis has played 27% of his professional games. It's an exact statistic. I actually think it's maybe 27.2. So striking that, not being totally on the number, but 20%, over a quarter of his professional games leading up to his call-up in September last year were in the worst power park, and in particular the worst power park for right-handed hitters in the minor leagues. I think that says something. I think, we have to always take a look at some of these power numbers with a grain of salt, and it's very important to have, I think, some of those park factors available to you just to look at what the extremes are and sort of put things in perspective.
That's a good point. And another reason why Evan White, his teammate, should be someone to keep a look at. Yeah. Evan White, about 40% of his games were at AA Arkansas. So another guy who can, he's starting off a little slow. Actually got a couple hits today, I think an RBI, his first RBI of a major league career.
Future's bright in Seattle, man.
So yeah, it's going to be nice. So future's bright in Chicago right now. Luis Robert, of course, making his debut of the year, signing his contract. And boys, he had his first major league hit was 116 mile per hour single off a slider. And today, on Sunday, he hit his first RBI, his first home run, 2-run shot in a throwaway game. It was garbage time, but it was still a nice. He pimped it a little bit. He knew it was gone when he hit it. I mean, it kind of just eked out, but he swore he knew it was out. Luis Robert, I think he's somewhat living up to the hype. I mean, we saw what he did to Steve Cishek's middle slider that in summer camp. Ralph, I mean, I don't think there's much we don't know or anything really wondering about Luis Robert right now, except one encouraging thing is at the very moment, again on Sunday, 3 strikeouts just in 12 plate appearances, right? We were concerned that Robert's strikeouts and his approach, you saw him in AAA and you were concerned about how ugly he looked at the plate. But so far, so good. We're just slowly kind of feeling our way around what Luis Robert looks like. So, Ralph, again, just your quick thoughts on one of the most exciting prospects, my number 2 fantasy.
Yeah, I want him to start running, man. I need some stolen bases out of Robert. I think that's going to be
Tommy Pham is taking them all.
Money. If he's hitting this way and he's stealing a couple bases a week, he's going to be incredibly valuable, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be super overdrafted in 2021 league. So I know I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but yeah, it's really encouraging to see him making contact like that. He hasn't looked overmatched. Not that he's seen the best twin sort of pitching. Randy Dobnak, great story, looked really good, but he's really more of a pitch to contact guy, and whatever. So let's put that into perspective, who he's seen. I know Jose Barrios, he hit him as well. So there's obviously as well. But overall, I want to see a little bit more. 3 strikeouts to 1 walk. If we were sitting here and he had 3 walks and 1 strikeout, I think I would feel a little bit differently, as small as the sample size is. But it still could be coming. It's good to see start well. I want to see him carry it out, hit pitching. But I will say this: swing looks violent. He's an incredibly good athlete. There's a ton of power at the point of contact. That even if he hacks twice, if he hits it the 3rd time, and I think the hit tool might be good enough, he's going to make a lot of loud contact, and I think he can carve out a role like that. I don't think he has to be a guy that walks 10% of the time to be effective. Maybe it's really low, like a 5 or a 6%, but particularly in fantasy with power and with the speed, he's going to be a guy that's going to play well.
He's someone that I think he's approaching, based on these early returns, is the way his at-bats have looked, Stanton levels of like how much I want to see his at-bats. I'm like, oh shoot, Luis Robert, let me tune into MLB TV real quick and just to see how this turns out. And good note on 2021, his potential to be overdrafted. I'm already excited for 2022, Ralph, to take him at a bargain. I'm thinking far ahead as well. Matt, I'll give you a chance to tie the bow here on Luis Robert.
No, man, I'm just mad that he's playing 40 minutes from me, and I can't go watch him every day.
Because
but he's exciting, and I'm glad you guys mentioned it. My
most exciting thing,
yes, my most exciting thing is the one walk today, and that's huge because that shows you guys already touched on it. So I'm glad. He's an explosive athlete, and yeah, man, he's it's nice to see these guys live up to the hype so far.
Sweet. Last up on our kind of reactionary pieces of these first prospects that are coming up, Dustin May. A little bit of old news by the time you're listening to this, but it's just so dynamite that we have to opine on it, if you will. Dustin May came up starting opening day. Clayton Kershaw scratched last minute. Dustin May steps right in. He's throwing 100-mile-per-hour sinkers at guys. I think it was I should have had the box score up in front of me, but it was like 4 innings. Pretty neutral ending overall start. I mean, the stuff was certainly dynamic. You can see why people are excited about Dustin May, the raw skills he brings. I wrote up he was number 2 in my Dodgers list, of course, behind Gavin Lux. And my only real gripe with Dustin May that I had, guys, was just last year at least, an over-reliance on the fastball and his slider and his curveball, which are supposed to be his best pitches. He just really wasn't going to them. And, of course, when he went to the bullpen, it was really just a sinker and a cutter. Those 2 pitches were all he turned to. I understand that. You don't need as much when you're in the bullpen. But this year, again, at least in his first start, a little bit of an over-reliance on the fastball. Now, whether that's nerves, whether that's just trusting your raw stuff a little bit, I understand it. Matt, with Dustin May, what are you expecting the rest of the way? In 2 parts here. For fantasy, are you thinking the Dodgers are going to get to a point where they're going to let him go deep? And 2, is he going to stay in the rotation all year?
Both those kind of go hand in hand. I'm hesitant to say they're going to let him go deep. I could see a lot of 4 or 5 inning appearances from them. That seems to be their MO. They did it with Julio Urias. They have so much depth. Kershaw will be coming back. But I mean, you have to be so encouraged by what we saw. 60 total pitches, 46 strikes the other night. 4 1/3, 4 strikeouts, 7 hits. He's the definition of command versus control, right? Throws a lot of strikes, but they're right over the fat part of the middle of the plate. I wish he'd throw the curveball more. I think we all do. He just doesn't. I guess when you have a 99, 100-mile-an-hour sinker, it's which is actually, believe it or not, and people will kind of explain this a little bit on Twitter, that's a pitch to contact is the goal for that pitch, not to blow it by you. And it's 100 miles an hour. So, yeah, it's I'm excited to see what he could do as he matures. But for this year, my expectations are minimal just because I think the Dodgers have so many arms. And I see a lot of 4 or 5 inning appearances as a starter and 3 4 inning bullpen appearances when they get healthy. So
Ralph, when I'm with you, Matt, by the way, I can't get excited about almost any Dodgers pitchers, including Walker Buehler, because I don't know how deep these guys are going to go this year. The Dodgers are going to maximize that bullpen as best they can and, maybe piggyback some starts even. Ralph, Dustin May's fastball, his sinker, averaged 98 miles per hour this year, right? That's the second highest in all of baseball thus far. Can you guess what number 1 is?
Sinker?
Not a sinker, just fastball. Fastest. Again, Dustin May number 2, 98.4 was number 1 so far. Starter
98.4, and it's a starter, huh?
Yeah.
DeGrom, is it?
Was it DeGrom?
Yep.
I was going to say, I thought it was DeGrom.
Jacob DeGrom, number 1 in baseball. Bringing the velo and still not getting the wins. Typical Mets. Ralph, real quick, Dustin May. I think we gave our ideas on what his fantasy outlook looks like. Are you kind of on the same page as me and Matt? Love the skills, just down on the fantasy skills, or are you different?
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. Once again, I think with a deeper format, 16 team plus, maybe even 14, he's probably worth a dice roll. Deeper head-to-head formats, if you're still playing those. I could see streaming him in the right situation. I'm not sure he's going to go more than 5 innings most times, like you guys both said. But I will say, on the positive side, trying to be the cheery, sunny guy over here, Mr. Sunshine, Ralph Lifshitz. But he's in the mix. For him to start opening day, and some guys to be injured. The Dodgers have always had this 7-man rotation going the last few years since they've been playing the IL game. since it shrunk down to 10. And even when it was at 15, they were doing the same thing. So, I mean, it's not a shock. So he's in the mix. He's going to get some starts. Maybe it's 7. But it would be nice to see him, against some weaker lineups. It's, at home, and who knows, I could certainly see streaming him in the right matchups. Anything is possible this year. Anybody that is on a roster that we've seen has relevance to talk about, because there's so many injuries, and there's and obviously, coronavirus and COVID-19 and the positive tests and all those sort of mini explosions that have happened already. Anything can happen this year. This is just such a wacky year.
Dustin May, by the time you listen to this, he will, I believe, I'm looking at the Dodgers schedule, correct? He will either be starting tonight's game, Tuesday being tonight, at Astros, or it would be Wednesday also at Astros. So that's going to be a tough test. And if he does very well in that start, goes 5 innings, maybe a 1-run, 5-6 Ks, I think that makes a big statement toward leaving him in the rotation for the rest of the year. So Dustin May, like you said, Ralph, certainly worth a gamble in mixed leagues, 14-team and deeper. If you're shallower than that, there's maybe some better options in the pool, but nothing wrong with at least stashing him on your bench and streaming him when the moment is right. Finally, let's go. Actually, let's take a quick break, y'all. It's been a while since we threw to one of our random breaks. So this next item you're about to hear in your ad is actually the new replacement for shake weight. And we're back. So that was only for the podcast. And with StreamYard, it gets a little awkward when you just gotta stay quiet there for a second. Let's change gears here, guys. Wednesday, tomorrow, by the time you're listening to this, marks 7 days that teams will now have let pass, and they can now call up their prospects and gain that extra year of eligibility. So there are several names I'll list out right here. The ones that kind of are the most obvious ones that we're waiting on. We have Spencer Howard, who's rumors are that he's going to replace Vince Velasquez, because they're lined up to start at the same time. Or not just Vince Velasquez, just anyone in the back end of that Phillies rotation, to be honest. Nate Pearson, Blue Jays. Monty Harrison, whom all of a sudden may not have come up, but because of the Marlins had that coronavirus kind of just group hit them, he's now in place to at least be a bench bat, if not maybe squeak away some everyday playing time. Gavin Lux, Dylan Carlson, Nick Madrigal. So let's start with those guys here, guys. Ralph, pick one guy you think is honestly going to come up, stay up, and be an everyday player. I assume this is Spencer Howard or Nate Pearson for you.
Yeah, I do think it's Spencer Howard. That's probably the guy that's going to get called up, be an everyday player, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think they could still play some games with him. I think he's probably going to be a 5-inning pitcher mostly to start, and they're not going to go too crazy. I wouldn't expect to see him come out and throw, 105 pitches through 7 innings. I just don't think that's probably going to be in the case for Howard. Even if he's tracking that way, I think they'd pull him after like 75 pitches in the 5th. He's just sort of at that point. But going to be good stuff. Anybody that can contribute, that can miss bats, limit hard contact, and just give you quality, and not tank your ratios. I think he's the guy that's going to do that. Pearson is another one. I don't know what they could do. Is it possible they could come up and just have him close for a few weeks?
Is he going to open? I mean, Thomas Hatch opened today for Anthony K. Is Pearson going to be open?
I don't know how Pearson's going to be used. That unless you're in a roto league where you have a start minimum, a start maximum, and you're trying to sort of optimize innings. I don't think he's valuable outside of that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to lean with Spencer Howard here. It's the easy answer. I'm not going to strain my brain any harder.
So I'm gonna change it up, because that was too much of a softball question by me. Matt,
right.
Nate Pearson, Spencer Howard, those two guys in my TGFBI league, they're owned. So I'm not gonna get a shot at them. And I assume for most TGFBI leagues are owned. But say if you're not even in a TGFBI league, you're just in a more traditional league where you can throw up some FAAB. What are you spending on these guys, and who should get most of your money?
Oh man,
give me percents here, and I'll come back to you for the same question, Ralph.
I would probably go with Spencer Howard. I would go 12%. Pearson, I would go 8%.
You're a conservative man when it comes to FAAB.
I am.
You gotta spend the big bucks to make the big moves. Okay, so 12% for Howard, about 8 to 9% for Mr. Pearson. Ralph, I have my own thoughts. I want to hear your numbers first.
18 to 22% on Howard. And depending upon the format, I could see going higher. And Pearson, probably like 10 to a 12. I wouldn't go crazy with Pearson. I even think that might be aggressive.
Okay.
It's all relative.
That's about in line with
only 10 weeks this year. Just spend the day.
You're right. Your more aggressive number makes sense.
Well, it's what it's gonna be. I'm about a quarter of your FAAB for Spencer Howard because I do think he's gonna stay up all year.
Yeah, so do I.
I think he will be productive, and when he does pitch, he has a relatively easy division. A lot of Orioles starts, a lot of Marlins starts, but maybe not so much. Maybe Yankees. I mean, Red Sox are here and there, but Spencer Howard is a big arm, and Nate Pearson, I think I'm with you, Ralph, because we don't really know what their plan is with him. I know he looked a little bit shaky to finish off summer camp. I'd say about 15%. I would spend 15. I think he goes for also about a quarter. I mean, Nate Pearson's almost legendary at this point. I mean, he's known even by non-prospect guys. So he can't hide behind some magical truth that we know about him. So this week, if those two guys are not in your league, get ready to spend the big bucks on them. Monty Harrison, Lux, Carlson, Madrigal. Matt, I'll let you wax poetic on Carlson. Is there anything? Can we expect him up? I mean, Bader, Fowler, and O'Neill. I mean, O'Neill's somewhat producing. Bader's kind of.
Bader's already sat down today. They already sat Bader down Sunday, and then Fowler is Friday and Saturday played the first 7 innings, and then Lane Thomas would go in and for a defensive replacement.
We don't have a need for Carlson right now. Obviously, his skill demands he should be there.
He's their best outfielder all around. Maybe Tyler O'Neill is probably the best right now if he gets enough run. He's never gotten a really opportunity in St. Louis, so hopefully he does. Whether he's getting hurt or sent down, hopefully they let him play. Carlson's probably their next best option for all-around outfielder. I'm just trying to wrap my head around, Dexter Fowler's batting 7th and getting lifted for a defensive replacement. So what is the point? I think everyone knows why.
Home run?
No, I understand that, but you're batting that low in the order and they're taking you off for defense. It's like, okay. But anyways, I think Carlson is. I mean, everything they've said seems like they're going to go to him quick. O'Neill is hitting, and the rest of the other outfielders really aren't. So I think. I think we could see him up, and I think he's going to bat toward the bottom third of the order. And I just hope he doesn't eat into Tyler O'Neill's time. But the rest of it, I mean, Bader's going to play no matter what because the defense, whether that's end game or full game, it's just how long is the leash for Fowler is the ultimate question, and that's if he's tied to Carlson.
If Carlson is not up 1 week from today, what are we waiting for? Like what?
Yeah, I mean, the dude dominated spring training. And literally, I think he led the Grapefruit League in offense until before the shutdown. That's not an exaggeration. He was up there in like almost every category. Summer League, which there's no stats because it's inscribed, but he was hitting the ball and making all the plays, running the bases well. There's no reason for him not to be up.
Give me the percent. Give me the percent chance he is up 1 week from today when we're recording again.
60%.
Ralph, are you in that area as well?
With Dylan Carlson?
Dylan Carlson on the
Cardinals. I'm at 60.
Matt knows more about the Cardinals than I do.
I know nothing about this.
I feel like it's like 10%. I don't think he's getting called up.
I'm pessimistic about it as well.
Yeah. Because I saw him make some plays in center field that did not look great.
Well, he's not a center fielder with them anyway. Bader and Thomas and O'Neill are probably all better center fielders than him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I just don't see him playing over those guys. They have an opportunity right now to build some value with that outfield. And potentially trade him away. And, Bader's always been able to hit left-handed pitching. If he's even league average against right-handed pitching, he's going to be a very strong player.
Yeah,
that's a good everyday player.
Yes.
I still believe in Tyler O'Neill, man.
So do I. And he's never gotten a chance, so hopefully he gets the opportunity to run with it.
Right.
Real quick before we move, real quick, though, we kind of skipped over this, and this has been a sore spot in prospect list rankers for years. Can we have a moment of silence for Mitch Keller's prospect eligibility, please? Because we no longer have to rank him, and it's just
It's
thankful.
We're done. We're done, guys. No more Mitch Keller in our prospect list.
We had a mini celebration in our group text.
Franklin Barreto have I been so excited. Yeah. Kyle Lewis, because I knew what waited on the other side for Kyle Lewis, that he was ultimately going to be a not prospect, meaning
zombie prospect.
And Anthony Alford. Anthony Alford is what he'd be, who still has his rookie status, by the way, despite debuting in 2017.
He does.
And okay, real quick, detour. Number one guy you want off your prospect list now for me is Brendan Rodgers. I am tired of ranking Brendan Rodgers. I need him off. That's my guy that he needs to debut.
Yep.
I'm done with him.
That's probably the guy. That's probably better.
Whitley. I don't want to rank Forrest Whitley any longer.
I'm still curious about Forrest Whitley. He's been interesting.
I'm curious the major league level.
I'll throw another name in there, Nick Madrigal.
I mean, we haven't been that long, right?
Yeah, no big deal. Hey, he's fun. He's fun. We get people debating us about him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, you know who Nick Madrigal fans hate though? Lurie Garcia. Hit 2 home runs.
He's hitting the ball right now.
He golfed one the other day.
That pushed back his debut at least 3 weeks, right?
I live in the Chicago area, and Nick Madrigal on Sports Talk Radio is the savior right now.
Oh wow! Jeez,
and it's 3 games into the season, and Nick Madrigal's not saving you for anything except for the shallow end of the pool. That's it. So, I mean, that's it.
I'm sure he's a strong swimmer, man.
He might be.
Let's give the fans a bone here. Nick Madrigal, when do you think he debuts? Ralph, put you on the spot here. It's July 26th. We're wrapping up the first week of the season. You can give me a week, roughly, if you prefer, when Nick Madrigal would be up.
September 3rd.
Wow. So halfway through the year.
August 4th.
August 4th. So just over a week. Okay. I'm thinking 2 weeks, so that's roughly August 10th. I think Lurie Garcia legitimately bought himself some time. I'm not playing around with those 2 home runs.
He might have. I mean,
okay, I like it. Let's go to one more break. Ralph, what was this product you said you used to scratch your back?
Well, it's long and it's sticky, and it smells like my basement.
All right, and we're back. Hope you were able to dial the 1-800 number to pick up that item to scratch Ralph's back. Guys, redrafts are going crazy. I'm making a bunch of moves as much as I can. My philosophy this year for redraft leagues is, I mean, if you go for 4 one day, you're off my roster at this point. At least for those kind of flex guys. Like I picked up I think it was like Matt Beatty, Ryan McBroom. Those guys maybe had some playing time. They didn't start one day, you're off my roster. I'm churning a lot. I'm churning as much as I can. So give the listeners rather, maybe your favorite redraft target that you're going for. Again, reminding the listeners, we are recording this Sunday night. So maybe someone hits 3 homers on Monday. Maybe Phil Gosselin hits 2 more home runs and we have to go pick them up. But is there a name out there that's really catching your attention that you're trying your best to add them to your teams? Matt, I'll kick it off with you here first.
Tough question, man. Put me on the spot. My best kind of spot start fill-in so far, I dropped Jose Quintana and I picked up A.Wainwright and got a quality start out of him and a win. Guys like him are going to go 6+ innings because
what sticks out to you about Wainwright? Because we had this conversation, the 3 of us, through text, where it was like Brady Singer versus Wainwright rest of the year.
It was the Pirates matchup for the first week of the season also. He was the number 2 starter, so you knew when he was going to start. I got a free start this week. Like Walker Buehler owners, I'm not comparing the two, but Buehler didn't pitch this week. So if you drafted him in some of these NFC formats, you got a 0 for Walker Buehler this week, and he's a first-round pick.
Volume counts. I understand. Right. So, but Wainwright, are you sticking with him rest of the season, or
no?
Are you taking a step? You start by start at this point.
Early on, I don't think there's going to be many guys. We're seeing it now. We're seeing how many 1 or 2, 3 inning starts are we seeing right now through James Paxton, Kluber, guys like that aren't going deep in games at all. I'll take the play now. I'm not planning on starting Wainwright next week against the Brewers in Milwaukee, but after that, we'll see. Like, you know what I mean? So it's touch and go with guys like that. Give me the established, boring veterans that are going to pitch. Give me length. Give me distance. He's not giving me big strikeout numbers, but he makes up for it.
Give me length.
Yeah, give me length, man. I'll take it. All of it.
Okay. All right. You're taking in all of A.Wainwright. You heard it here first, Matt Thompson. Ralph, who are you letting take Reggie White, and who are you welcoming into your life here?
Yeah, so I was trying to think of guys that I've added in the last week or so that might be relevant for, I guess, redraft and even like some I guess shallower dynasty leagues. Dustin J.Smoak, he's hit 4 for Milwaukee this far. He's been all right, but he's getting opportunity. I like the ballpark. I like the team setup, and he's already homered. You're going to get a little bit of power there. And he's getting some run. He's getting some at bat. So, the underlying StatCast numbers have always been good with him. So he's a guy that I feel pretty comfortable rostering in almost all formats at this point, that I think he's worth going out and getting. Framber Valdez is another guy, because I think that his rotation spot is pretty safe. I just don't know how deep he's going to go into games. But if he's a guy that goes 5 innings, he might get enough strikeouts. Maybe qualify for some W's being on a decent Houston team, of course. But I think his rotation spot is now sort of set. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, it seems like there's really a lack of starting options this year on the waiver wire, just due to sort of the crunch of trying to get those totals, kind of similar, tying it back into what you said about Walker Buehler.
I like that, Dustin J.Smoak. You think there's going to be, I guess, how much power are you expecting out of J.Smoak? Because, man, when he's good, he can be good, and he can remind us of that one magical year. And I think it was 2016, I think it was, 2017, where he went bonkers with 38 home runs. So with J.Smoak, I mean, a good OBP play, he's always strong walk rates. With J.Smoak, what are you kind of generally expecting rest of the way when it comes to the power department? Because that's what I'm most curious about.
Yeah. I mean, to give you relative numbers, it's difficult. I think he's a guy that can get to double-digit home runs.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens from there. He's also a guy, and this is one of those things that could go absolutely bonkers, like you said before, and get locked in for a month. The big thing for me, though, is the team dynamic and the team setup. He's hitting behind Yelich and Castanheira.
It's a beautiful park for him to hit into.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4, and it's a perfect park for his swing. I just feel like he's a guy that's underrated. I mean, I was taking a look at just Fantrax leagues, and traditionally, because of their slant toward dynasty, they tend to have guys that are higher rostered numbers. He's only 43% owned, and that's this week when he had a starting job, and that had jumped up from 37% the week before. So that just goes to show he's widely available. I think he's a good play, and in the right matchup at home, I could definitely see playing him. Especially against a righty who's going to be hitting lefty in that park. Short porch down the right field line. Boom, boom.
Love it. Unfortunately, gone in all my leagues. I just checked. So kudos to the owners in my leagues. Yeah. You are on the ball. All right. So my guy, we got A.Wainwright, Dustin J.Smoak, and I love these. These are guys that again aren't owned a ton. They aren't obvious choices. So hopefully mine might be obvious after what he did today. That's Miguel Rojas, shortstop for the Marlins. Almost hit for the cycle today at Philly. Home run,
every day.
4 runs. Home run, 3 runs, 4 RBI. He has a steal on the season already. It's just 1 strikeout, 1 walk in the plate appearance in 12 plate appearances. With Miguel Rojas, again, like you mentioned, Matt, it's about the playing time. He is going to play every day. 1, because he has a good glove. 2, because the Marlins were just hit with that slew of coronavirus unfortunate cases. That's going to make sure he hits every day. And 3, Rojas had hit in the bottom of the order for these first 3 games. It was like 9, then 7th, and then 8th on Sunday. John Birdie was the one who they slotted in at 2nd. And I understand that Birdie has his speed. He went 0 for 5, unfortunately. And I think given today's game, Don Mattingly, I can easily see him swapping those 2 guys and putting Miguel Rojas hitting 2nd. I hope I look smart, when this airs, and at least on Monday, he will have hit on higher in the order. I actually don't know if the Marlins play on Monday now that I come to think of it. But Miguel Rojas, someone that I know is already being added a lot. I'm going to make a play for him in my TGFBI bids, with just 10 o'clock today, boys. So get ready to check your TGFBI bids. That's my pick. Miguel Rojas, stick him in your middle infielder and see what happens. That would wrap up our show, but we'll go very quickly and give you some live TGFBI reactions. I'm going to see if maybe sometimes the leagues are a little slow, so maybe it doesn't update on the moment.
I did not get anyone. I was a runner-up on Victor Caratini, and I was a runner-up on Greg Holland, which I guess neither of them might not be that bad. But
so I got Miguel Rojas, first of all. No one bid on him. I spent $74, so that's me mismanaging my FAAB. Brady Singer, $201 for him. 82 was the runner-up. And he was not number one this week, by the way, in my league.
Nope.
But Brady Singer, what did he go for you in your guys' leagues? I'm curious.
He went for $1 last week.
Oh, okay. Wow. Kudos.
Yeah.
Wait, but how do you go for $1 in TGFBI if he hasn't debuted? So how was he available?
He went for 113 in mine, and I was the runner-up at 29.
I think he was. Yeah. I saw $1, but maybe he was drafted.
He couldn't.
No, he wasn't available this week to pick up.
Okay, so maybe he was drafted and someone.
No, I'm looking right at it. Somebody picked him up last week and dropped Jorge Mateo for $1.
Okay, so he was probably. That makes. I'm just not even.
I'm looking right at it.
No, I believe you. I believe you, but that doesn't make sense how that happens. But I'm gonna move past this. Yeah. So my initial bid for Singer was $225, but I lowered it to about $70. Once I saw the schedule, I kind of talked some sense to myself that he's going to be a tough sell. Matt Shoemaker, guys, $305, number one in my league, runner up 72. So a lot of huge bids at Alex Cobb, $150, no runner up bid in my league. Kevin Gosman, $76, no runner up bid. So a lot of big money spending here. Yours truly included, and apparently my Rafael Dolis FAAB was not. Which I canceled, was not canceled. All right, well, those are live TGFBI FAAB.
Whitley went for 49.
Hey, I got mine.
What you got?
All right, so
biggest surprises in your league here.
Greg Holland went for $205.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, is Ian Kennedy? Did he get coronavirus? And I just didn't learn about it.
Ian Kennedy is not the closer. He's setting up.
Yeah, who knows? Trevor Rosenthal's there. I missed out on getting Kim. I had bid 141. I was the runner-up. The winning bid was 185. Singer went for 113, like I mentioned. My runner-up bid was 29. Kiki Hernandez went for 75. That one was 52. I had to get rid of Stroman. I added Adam Wainwright uncontested for 46. It could have been $1. That's hilarious. All my bids were like that. I got Jacob Stallings because I needed a catcher. I dropped Tom Murphy. I bid 43 because he's 70% owned. It's a 2-catcher league, and I figured someone might have lost one. That was uncontested, so I could have gotten $2 there. Doesn't matter because I still have a ton of FAAB. Josh Van Meter for Cameron Maybin. Maybin got hurt. $20 there. That was uncontested. Pedro Severino. I dropped Tucker Barnhart. He's on the paternity list, and I assume he's potentially may have to quarantine. $16 there. I'm fine with that. Framber Valdez for $9, dropping Mackenzie Gore, uncontested, and Edward Alvarez dropped Monty Harrison, $7 there. So I pretty much just changed over my roster, and it was completely uncontested. So yeah.
Lesson learned. I mean, well, I don't want to say lesson learned because next week theoretically could be the biggest week of FAAB, given that a lot of prospects might be coming up.
Yeah.
So
FAAB again, right? Is that what it was?
Hopefully, yeah. It was like last year. Well, who was it? Like Nicky Lopez, Oscar Mercado,
Nate Lowe, Jordan Alvarez.
No. There was 1 week. It was like FAAB again.
Right. Wasn't it Austin Riley and Alvarez?
Riley, yeah, right. I think it was like Riley, Mercado, Nicky Lopez, and I don't know if Jordan Alvarez was in that class. It was a big class. Matt, excuse me. Any TGFBI surprises before we say goodbye to the listeners?
Kike Hernandez went for 278.
Okay.
It's hard when you're not doing daily league. It's hard to have Kike Hernandez. 205 for Anthony Bass.
Damn. Wow.
That's where they're at there. And then one bid that I am kind of angry at myself for not seeing, Jose Osuna went for $10.
Okay. Hit a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can dig it.
Looks sweet too.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, boys. So there you have it, guys. We recapped. We gave you Brady Singer, Kyle Lewis, Luis Robert, Dustin May reactions. Gave you some of my thoughts on what Spencer Howard, Nate Pearson going to do when they come up. Dylan Carlson, Nick Madrigal. Gave you some picks. Adam Wainwright, Miguel Rojas, and Justin Smoak. So maybe you can make some actions and make some moves with your leagues with those names. And finally, of course, with the start of baseball, it means the start of our Dynasty Baseball Championship. You can go to prospectslive.com and check the standings. We have standings that are live where, thanks to Smata, of course, you can see where you are in the overall. You can filter by the leagues. You can filter by names. So just a lot of cool stuff, as always, as you can expect from Smata, the great. And stay tuned. Our plan, like we mentioned last week, very, very soon, we're now, crossing the dots, dotting our I's, crossing the T's on our top 500 fantasy list. We are super, super excited to give this to you. We plan to make this a living document that you can always refer to, completely free, just as all the content on Prospects Live is right now. So thank you so much. And by the time you listen to this, there will be a survey that we have been posted on our Twitter, on our Discord, if you're a part of it. Please do take part. We want to make sure Prospects Live is exactly what you want it to be. We want to hear what you want to read. We want to make sure our energy and our focus is going to the stuff that you want to consume, right? So we don't want to do something if you're not going to be there for it. And we want to make sure everything we do is just right for you, and you can make Prospects Live your one-stop shop for all the good stuff. On behalf of Ralph and Matt Thompson, we'll catch you next week. Enjoy another week of baseball, and hopefully we get there. Take care.